Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there and welcome to the program. It is Monday. It is March, although it doesn't seem like it. Seems like April. We're a month off. It's warm. It's spring-like rainy, and the political season is upon us. I must make I have become, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to pull out of it, I've become obsessed with this election. I've become obsessed with knowing and watching and being aware of everything that is going on, especially as it regards Donald Trump. I spent the weekend watching one horror after another play out. I even found myself, and I remember saying, I know what I'm about to say will be proven wrong, because every time someone has said this, it is proven wrong. But surely this kind of undercurrent and just this far beneath the surface, about ready to explode, this undercurrent of violence that accompanies his campaign. I said, surely that will be the thing that will wake up Americans and we'll see him start to come down. All the polls out today show none of it had any impact at all. So, on we go. Lot of stuff, of course, trying to make sense of this. A lot of us trying to make sense of it. Every once in a while you read something that you think, that helps me make sense of this. There was such a piece in Sunday's, I guess it was in Sunday's New York Times. And it was an explanation of where Trump came from, why we didn't see him coming, even though he'd been out there. And it traces his foray into presidential politics. It tells us that, in fact, this was not something done on a lark at a, oh, you know what, I think I need a little more publicity, I think I'll run. No, this was years in the making. He did what many candidates, serious candidates, do. He had polls done. He sought real advice from veterans of the political fray. This was a calculated run based exactly on what we're seeing. Talking points were tried and then assessed. This was, from the beginning, a professional campaign. And if you want, I mean, I'm going to recommend that article to you, but it talks about how 4 years ago, when Romney's running, how Trump is already in the picture, and how Republicans continue to see him as, well, like we all did, a showman, a jester, a sideshow, not serious, just, a narcissist wanting some attention. And throughout those years, Republicans kept thinking, oh, God, he's a clown, but he's a rich clown. And then he realized that if he wanted entree, he had to start writing big checks. And he starts writing big checks to the Republican Party, to various candidates, whenever asked, 5- and 6-figure checks. And so that gains you entree. He knows that. He's told his crowds that. You write checks, you get access. So that's what he did. And what the Republican establishment kept thinking, as did we all, was that he was really, a lightweight, a joke, and that they could control, they could use him. They could use him and control him. They were wrong. They talk about the endorsement when Romney accepted his endorsement in Las Vegas, how that was something Trump pushed. When he tells the story, it's Romney came to me, he begged me. Remember, didn't he? That was when he said he would have gone down on his knees, right? Gotten on his knees. Of course, that's not really the way it happened. It went more the other way. Trump wanting to get right alongside him, and he pulls it off. He pulls it off. And as Romney is heading in to the casino, the Trump-owned casino or something in Las Vegas where this endorsement is held, and the Romney people insisted on putting up blue curtains all around the ornate, crapola kind of decor. They wanted to make it look more Romney-like, more sober and serious. And Romney, according to people who were there, was literally like, he really couldn't believe that his effort to be the president had come to this. He was really uncomfortable. And in fact, so uncomfortable that with Trump standing right there, Romney said as he got to the podium, he looked around and he said, quote, "There are some things that you just can't imagine happening in your life. This is one of them. I'm standing here accepting the endorsement of this clown." Well, they say that even though Trump was doing all this stuff, meeting with lots of Republican pollsters, testing his political message, gauging his image across the country, understanding it so that he could frame. This is 4 years ago. And because media totally ignored the fact that he was making visits to New Hampshire, making visits to Iowa. And then he struck up a friendship. Now, this friendship actually was struck up almost 8 years ago. And it was with a guy named David Bossie. Let me tell you who David Bossie is. He's the president of something, a group, and you'll recognize the name. Citizens United. He is the head of the group that brought the case, got to the Supreme Court, that turned our elections over to the rich. Citizens United. That's the name that will go down in history as probably the most damaging judicial ruling the Supreme Court ever made regarding our democracy. And the guy who was the head of Citizens United is the one who helped Trump. He made recommendations for who he should hire. Trump listens to him. And then he goes and courts Reince Priebus. Remember Reince Priebus, who at the last debate shows up before it and says, no matter who our nominee is, we're going to get behind him. Already suggesting that the Republicans damn well better support Donald Trump. Trump has been going after Priebus for years and years. He met last summer with Newt Gingrich in Iowa. And Gingrich now says he peppered me with questions about what it's like to run, what should you avoid, what you shouldn't. But he wanted a very personal kind of perspective on what the process was. And after that breakfast meeting, Gingrich turned to his lovely wife, Callista, and said, I think he's running. Rival campaigns, media, nobody took him seriously. All the intelligentsia, the pundits, ignored all of this early work that he had done throughout the spring, visiting New Hampshire, Iowa, South Carolina, using forums that were hosted by the Citizens United guy, the president. And even when he jumped in and jumps to an early lead, they still kept saying, as we all did, blah, blah, blah. Well, and here's what Trump said a little bit before the New Hampshire primary. He said this: a lot of people have laughed at me over the years. Now they're not laughing so much. And that brings us to the most amazing aspect of this article. It says that perhaps the moment, and granted, this is, it makes a good story, but there was a thing that occurred that many of us witnessed that could have been the moment when Trump said to himself, that's it. I'm going to show these SOBs how much of a clown I am. And what is pinpointed is the Correspondents' Dinner 2011, Washington, D.C. That's the event where the president goes and all the media's there and everybody who's anybody's there. And a comedian, roasts the president and everybody else, and the president gets up and says his thing. Trump was there. Seth Meyers was the MC that night. I went back and looked at the video of what Seth Meyers said and what Obama said. And let me tell you, they both ridiculed Trump. And he's sitting there, and the cameras are on him. Now, the night's about ridicule. People were ridiculing the president. People are ridiculing Joe Biden. People are ridiculing everybody. That's the thing. It's a roast. I don't think Trump likes to be ridiculed. The president even had a graphic that he used. He said, if Donald Trump gets in the White House, we think we'll have some. And then he shows a picture of the White House with this grotesque new top on it that looks like a casino with Trump, in neon letters all over it. So they made fun of him as being, what I still think he is. But I guess he's sort of not. He's more than we thought. Much more. Seth Meyers that night said, So I understand that Donald Trump said he'd be running for president, running as a Republican. That's funny. I thought he'd be running as a joke. The place cracks up. Everyone's howling. Donald Trump is sitting there, stone-faced. The President of the United States gets up and kicks him around as well. Makes fun of him. Talking about Donald making tough decisions, like whether or not to fire Meatloaf or fire somebody else. He was really on him about. And it was funny stuff. But now we know Donald Trump better, and we know what a fragile ego he has, right? And this public humiliation, as he saw it, at the highest level, the President of the United States getting cheers and laughter from the establishment and the media establishment and the political establishment as they have their fun with Trump. The New York Times article suggests that when he left rather hurriedly that evening, angry, that was where his resolve might have hardened. I'm going to show these SOBs. You don't do that to me. Now, speaking of the psyche of this man and its fragility, he's been called a bully. I think most of us agree he's a bully. We also know that bullies, even though they come on strong, we now understand that that is a masquerade because bullies by nature are, in fact, insecure. And to hide their insecurity, they come on tough. So, I think it was, let's see here. It was Frank Bruni who did a piece about Trump and his psychology, his neediness. And he says this: the scope and intensity of Trump's hunger for adulation is infinite. It's bottomless. It's topless. It's endless. It's insatiable. And that's true. And that's why he's so dangerous. Bruni suggests that his compulsion, his addiction, his compulsion to see his name on everything, his name on the lips of everyone, his face on all of the televisions, all of that, he can't live without. It's like oxygen to us. He needs it. And now, the fix he needs, he's ratcheted up to such a high level that he'll never be happy until it's as an addiction. You keep needing more to get the same high. Bruni writes, everything about Trump's campaign can be explained in terms of substance abuse. He's addicted to attention, demanding regular fixes, going to ever greater lengths in terms of whatever, saying something or provocative acts, whatever he needs to get the fix, the attention. There's only one measure for Donald Trump, and that is more. More. More things with my name on it. More buildings with my name on it. like a modern day Midas. Everything he touches turns to Trump. He insists on it, says Bruni. He craves it. No reassurance sustains him for too long. No validation suffices. That would be as true of Trump the president as it is of Trump the candidate. And it would dictate the terms and the tempo of a reign from which this country would not soon recover. Donald Trump's epic neediness. And then if you look at these crowds, these mobs, more like mobs, of his enablers, I think understanding the psychology helps at least to understand what we're looking at. Now, the danger of what we're looking at is clear, at least to me. It's obviously clear to Marco Rubio, if you heard him this weekend, clearly. You see the people who see the danger. And you see the people who discount the danger and simply want to get close to the power. This is one of those times when a person's character is tested, I think. What side are you on? And as people choose, it says something. So, a Republican columnist, conservative, Ross Douthat, he says this: no modern political party has nominated a candidate like this. No serious party ever should. Denying Trump the nomination would indeed be an ugly, and I would add violent, ugly exercise, one that would weaken or crush the party's general election chances and leave the party with a long, hard climb back up to unity and health. But if that exercise is painful, it is also the correct thing to do. A man so transparently unfit for office should not be placed before the American people as a candidate for president. So in Cleveland, in a few months, the men and women of the Republican Party may face a straightforward choice: to betray the large number of Republicans who cast their votes for Trump, or to betray their obligations to this country. For a party that says it is patriotic, the choice should not be hard. So, let me catch up on some of your emails, excuse me. David writes, oh yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. The night of the 2011 Correspondents' Dinner, when Obama and Myers skewered Trump, at that very moment, the mission to kill Osama bin Laden was taking place. That is true. And when you realize, although we have pictures, I'm a little confused if it happened before the dinner or after the dinner, because as you know, we have pictures of Obama, Hillary Clinton, and some of the others of his national defense and security apparatus sitting around a table, actually watching in real time. Right? I think, yes. Unless I'm mistaken, but I believe so. So that was the same day. And Barack Obama, if you look at him that night at the dinner, he is as cool as a cucumber. And he's feeling good. You can see that too. But yeah, Donald likes to strut. And there was the president just making fun of him. Like, oh, yeah, you're on the what is it, Apprentice, and just ridiculing him. Margie says, I think Trump's getting worse. Well, yes, I think he is too, but I think what Frank Bruni suggests is right. He's living a dream. The whole world now knows who he is. Everybody's paying attention. His name is on everybody's lips, either with adulation or with scorn. It doesn't matter. He is it. If you're an attention seeker, you're in heaven. But if he is an addict to it, if each fix the thrill wears off and you need more, and you need more, and you need more, then you do have to keep ratcheting things up, as he is doing, with the threat of violence. Fascinating. Frightening. And here is somebody else. Oh, yeah, telling me that he thought the best line at the dinner was Seth Meyers saying, Donald Trump said he has a great relationship with the blacks. But unless the blacks are a family of white people, I think he's mistaken. And they showed the president just cracking up to that. And there's Donald sitting there, and everybody around him howling. Wow. So after Chicago got canceled and there was that clear threat of danger in the air, and then Trump says this and Trump says that, and they, watching the cable networks try to even start making sense. They went to some woman, I did not know her, about saying, what do you think of what you just saw? And she literally, this is a person who obviously is on the program because she talks. She looked like she couldn't find words. And then she must have been just frantically sifting through her brain, knowing she was on camera and had been asked a question, she finally found one. And the word she found was surreal. She couldn't believe what she'd just seen. Each moment has virtually no precedent in modern presidential politics. That's why if you are in any way a political junkie or if you are interested in your future or the world's future, you are watching, like me, you are watching every step of this. Because if he is allowed to continue on inexorably, he's taking all of us with him. And it is not a place that we want to go. There's not a single country in the world that wants us to go this way. There's not a rational being in this world that wants us to go this way. This is the culmination. You know, people who say, well, it's Barack Obama's fault. Everything's Barack Obama's fault. In a way, it is. If Barack Obama hadn't been so uppity, hadn't thought he could be president of the United States, hadn't in fact become president of the United States, and then somehow served 2 terms, and we felt it. We just didn't know how to put our finger. We felt the increase in hate and rage. And it's been since Obama's election. Race, bigotry are at the base of this, not economics. Race and bigotry and a sense of loss on the part of white America. There's little evidence that Trump sees any reason to alter what he is doing, the approach that he's taking, that includes encouraging his supporters' aggression. I'm sure he's calculated that all of this helps him. You know, it was amazing. If you watched the speech, I can't even remember which one. Maybe it was I don't know which speech I watched. The one that they carried the whole damn thing again. The networks turn themselves over because, in fact, they know a big news story might be about to erupt, like somebody getting killed. So he owns the media. And he gets up to give this speech. And literally the first 25 minutes of it, I don't have a transcript, but here, I think I can do a pretty good rendition. And so, did you see, we were in Dayton earlier, in a hangar, a big airport hangar. It was huge, huge. There were people waiting out. Get him out! Get him out! Crowd starts, yeah! Yeah, so we were, get him out! Get him out! Get him out! The whole first 20 minutes was get him out, get her out, and then, of course, making fun of the people and the cheering, the mob-like sensibility of. Some reporters are starting to say they do feel frightened at these events. Something is going to happen. And then you've got Trump clearly egging it on, just egging it on. He actually says in between, get him out! He says, isn't this fun? Quote, isn't this fun? Never know what's going to happen. Isn't this? He's saying, do I put on a show? Isn't this fun? Get him out. Can't say enough for these police. God bless these police. Get him out. Make no mistake. This is so akin now to Hitler and Hitler's rise. Make no mistake. For those of you who thought that was, going too far. No, it's not. This is like 1932 playbook. Look at the people who are being punched, beaten up at these rallies. They're black, right? My son said he was thinking of going to a trial. I said, don't you go near a Trump rally. God, don't. This is America. This is the America somehow we allowed to. This is our evolution. This is what it's come to. And it doesn't matter how much he literally, nothing is fact that he spouts. None. Did you see when the guy charged the stage, I guess in Dayton? And then later that day when Trump's talking about it at this same rally that I was talking about, get her out, get him out, get her out, get him out, get her out. He said, that guy, the police have told me, that guy was ISIS related. And he went into this big thing, and I'm listening to it, I thought, what? He said, yeah, they got, and he starts saying, he's ISIS. He had this, he was playing that, he was playing like some Arab music, and then he this and that, blah, blah, blah. None of it true. None of it true. Caller. Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
I thought I might try to talk you down.
Okay.
If you look at a lot of the polling, particularly even in Pennsylvania, the highest Trump is getting among the general election is like 42%.
God.
So, at first I was more freaked out about Trump than since some of these polls have come out. And I think that, what plays among a Republican base is going to play a lot differently among a general electorate. And he's going to be so, he's so vile and so offensive to so many people that I think there's no way he wins a general election.
But, okay, let's say, I don't even want to get there, but I think we're going to. I don't know, unless the Republican Party falls on its sword and saves us from him. And maybe goes down as a result. They're going down no matter what.
Right.
So they might as well go down doing the right thing by depriving his supporters of the nomination. However, the fact that 40% of your fellow Americans find him not only palatable, but they adore him. They want him. That scares me.
But I suspect that's the ceiling. And in other words, it could even get worse for him as it goes on, because there's still so many people who are only following this in a very casual way.
Well, I think he counts on that sort of superficial, casual way. And, you say it's just do you know how many Democrats are voting for him?
Well, I want to talk about that, too. Now, this is anecdotal. This is not statistical, but there are a lot of,
We know. And in Pennsylvania, we know. Because the people registered Democrat in this state, they're Republicans. And they're racists. Okay?
But I agree with you, but a lot of people that I work with are you would think would be more Trump supporters. And at first they were thinking he was funny, but now more and more of them, as I talk to them, they're going, he's starting to freak me out. Whereas a month ago, they were all laughing at what he was saying. And they're those kind of Democrats.
Well, I'll take your anecdote and trump you with this one.
Right.
And that is that in Ohio, they've been inundated with people trying to change their registration. And those are Democrats wanting to change to Republican so that they can vote for Trump.
But at least in Pennsylvania, there's the Western Pennsylvania issue. But also, when you think of the suburban counties of Philadelphia, like Berks County, Montgomery County, Trump is not going to fly out there.
No.
So whatever gain he might get out here is going to get wiped out by people's revulsion in the East.
Yeah, but Hitler was not successful in his first foray. He started in the 20s. It took him some time to harness this rage, to build the movement. And so even if he's nominated and even if he doesn't win, he ain't going away.
Right.
And what he has set off, and poured gasoline on, that ain't going away. It's like a last stand of a wounded, dying beast, and there's nothing more frightening and dangerous than a dying, frightened beast, and that is his supporters, that demographic. No, you can try to talk me down, but I'm not coming down until I'm not coming down.
I just want to say, though, as bad as it looks for him, there are still millions and millions and millions of wonderful people in this country who will work against that sort of thing.
You're right. I just hope they have the same fervor. I mean, it's oh dear. I always, there was a question that we used to ask as kids, can it happen here? Right. And the answer was always no. Everybody said no. I always said yes, even though I didn't really believe it. But I said yes because, Germany was like the most sophisticated, cultured nation on earth with a very educated population. So why would we think we're different? We're not immune. And here we go. Here we go.
Okay, well, I'll let you go, Lynn. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate the attempt to talk me off the ledge. And to watch people interviewing him, trying to control the conversation, trying to get anything resembling it's scary. You realize you don't know how to fight this. Is it wise? I know. I was talking to my sister, and she said, "Well, you see, we in Chicago stopped him." I said, "I don't think that's helpful." He was picking a fight by the very venue. He chose to hold that rally on a college campus. How they let him, I don't know. That is exceedingly diverse, filled with black and brown and immigrants. It's the University of Illinois at Chicago. That is an exceedingly diverse population. It ain't Trump territory. And so I understand that the people on that campus, knowing he was coming, organized and said, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to let... But it is never American to say we're not going to let him speak. You can't do that. How is that helpful? We're not going to let him speak. He uses it to his advantage. Then he gets to call us bullies. And you do let him speak. You deprive him of the show he wants. Every time a protester interrupts him and he gets to say, get him out, they're playing into his hands. Caller, hello.
Clarence from Canonsburg.
Clarence Hurley.
I don't think you should be or need to be or anybody else needs to be talked down.
No, I can't be.
Yeah, neither can I.
Right.
The people trying to, convince other people, that Trump is terrible, the people who are voting for him, that's an act of futility. You're not going to do it. No matter what he says, if you can't see that by now.
Yeah, right. It has nothing to do. You cannot reason. It's sort of like it's the faith thing again.
Yeah,
It's just facts don't matter. It's all emotion. It's just all id playing out here.
To me, what needs to be done is for the pro, whoever the Democrat it is, and the anti-Trump votes need to be, that needs to be the focus. People through the polls. It's a numbers game. Trying to convince these people not to vote for Trump isn't going to work.
No, they're going to vote.
They're going to vote for him, and like you said, in Ohio, and it happened here in Western Pennsylvania. People are registering and changing their registration.
Yes, they
to
are.
vote for Trump.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing.
And here's the thing, it's almost the bizarro Barack Obama world.
Yeah. It is. It's the same kind of. Well, it's been said that he is the anti-Obama.
Yeah.
Obama, the cool, eloquent, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at. Here's the opposite. Here's the great white hope.
And that's the word, hope. He's giving the lower middle class, the poor, who have been used for decades.
Yeah, they've been screwed. Screwed by the Republican. Absolutely.
For the Republican Party.
Yeah.
He's giving them hope.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving them hope.
And a voice.
That what they've been told all their lives, that if you work hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll be able to, buy a small home and, raise a family.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? It didn't happen.
No.
And they also convinced them that the problem is black people, immigrants, terrorism.
Right.
That was just
classic. It's just classic
It's
stuff.
Classic. And here's the thing. I was just watching something. It's probably from 2013, and he made this point. That what if we do close the borders and Mexicans can't come in here? And people who are taking your jobs. Does that mean like the next day after the wall's built, that the boss is going to walk into the office and say, "Here's a raise," and you're hired? No. And guess what? The border's enclosed to capital and goods. The border is closed to people, so all it's going to do is make less people. You're not going to get a raise. You're just being played. You're being played again.
You're being played again. This is true.
Exactly.
I mean, the little people have to realize they get screwed no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what. And that's the thing. That whole it's the divide and conquer thing. It's as long as you keep these groups fighting with each other. And if they all came together and said, we're not taking this, from you or you or you or you, they could solve problems, real problems. And the main problem is money and, access and opportunity and all that kind of good stuff. It's easily solved. They can solve it, but you got to go where the money is, where it really is. And that's what corporate, people like Trump, that's the irony. They're the ones, the poor people don't have the money. Okay. I feel myself starting to not badger, but
rant
subject.
Yeah,
oh,
okay.
Rant. There you go.
Rant. That's a good
exactly.
4-letter word.
But I think that main point is that the focus needs to be on getting people to the polls. You want to see some long lines. I've said this before, but that's what has to be done. Carry a sandwich and some water because you're going to be waiting.
Gee whiz. I really am speechless and seriously frightened.
And this is one of those things that kind of reminds me of 9/11.
Yeah.
Okay, where there's and you happen to be one of them.
Yes, went nuts.
I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen to me? I'm going to be poor and victim of racism and all this kind of good stuff if Donald Trump is elected president. But that's been my life.
Mm-hmm. So what's the difference?
It's nothing new. You know what I mean? I'm still going to have to worry about making sure I don't I stop dead and don't speed and all this kind of good stuff because, the cop might, but there's nothing new. So am I afraid for the country? Sure. I want my nieces and nephews to have a better life. Am I afraid for me? Nah, it's the same old, same old.
But with the white bigots empowered again. So I think, in fact, it might not be quite same old, but worse.
I mean, what white bigots have? I mean, when has white bigots? Only thing that's different is they're just speaking out. You see them on TV.
Yeah,
it's not like they didn't.
But emboldened, they might act more. They might act more.
Yeah, I used that. The guy who elbowed that dude when he was while he was getting kicked out of a.
He didn't elbow him. He sucker punched him. He punched him.
It looked like he. Well,
no,
I think his elbow hit him, which is actually a better punch than a punch. But he hit the guy, and the cops took the guy down.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Exactly right.
I said that's like a perfect metaphor.
There it is.
You get hit by a white guy.
And you're under arrest.
Yeah,
right.
So you get hit by a white guy, and you continue to try to move forward, but the justice system takes you down.
Right.
The system takes you down.
Right.
And it's like I said, that's nothing new. It might seem like it to you, but believe me, it's nothing new.
Well, I find interesting the people that are jumping ship in various places, people starting to say, I cannot be part of, even Breitbart News. Breitbart News is about as right-wing as you can get. And Breitbart is one of the organizations that Trump, in years ago, started to curry favor with. So that they're in his corner. Now, as you know, one of their reporters got roughed up by Trump's muscle. And she now has left. An editor for Breitbart has left. Their press person has left. And they've all left saying the same thing. Breitbart is now part of the Trump apparatus. We cannot, as reporters, be anywhere near this. They did. I mean, you'll start seeing people. The people who jump. Chris Christie has shown us who he is. Mm-hmm. Ben Carson has shown us who he is. Unbelievable. Okay.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Whose side are you on? Okay. Obituary of the day. And it's a timely one. You probably don't know this guy. I do because I was a journalist once. Ben Bagdickian. 96 years old. He wrote the book. This guy was the kind of journalist that barely exists anymore. This is the kind of journalist that when I went to journalism school, taught what a journalist was. He worked for the Washington Post. He was, in fact, when the Post and the New York Times ran the Pentagon Papers, he was the conduit to the Post for Daniel Ellsberg. And you'll okay, so he's a true journalist, best known perhaps for sort of the incredible muckraking he did. He became an undercover inmate to expose the horrific conditions in Pennsylvania prisons. Of course, you could do that again now. A lot of good it did, huh? And he's the one who started to warn us early. This was like 70s, late 70s, early 80s. He was warning us, and no one was listening, about the corporatization of media and what that would mean. He warned that freedom of expression and independent journalism were threatened by the consolidation of news and entertainment outlets Stop and think where he absolutely was prescient. He was saying, if you allow these few companies to not only own the entertainment industrial complex, and also the news, so-called journalism complex, the lines will blur, and voila. You get Fox News. You get CNN, MSNBC, exactly what we're seeing now. You get the now ABC, CBS, NBC News, which is watered down treacle. Walter Cronkite, Edward R. Murrow could look at a half hour of network news now. They would explode. He warned about this. He actually wrote this in 1983. A mere 50 companies control what most Americans read in newspapers and books and what they saw on television and at the movies. He was saying, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. Guess what? 2004, the book is republished and he has to edit it because now it's just 5 companies. 1983, he's wildly warning everyone there's just 40 companies. They own it all. And they're going to control what information you get. Don't you realize this? This should not be allowed. And then by 2004, there were just 5 companies. So that gives, he wrote, each of the 5 corporations and their leadership more power to communicate than was exercised by any despot or dictatorship in history. And now Trump has them all on a string. Trump, coming out of the entertainment part, although the news is pretty much entertainment too, and you see, as Donald Trump says, get him out! Get him out! Man, this is fun, isn't it? Right? This is a presidential candidate. Bagdickian long ago told Americans, do not rely on television news. Don't. And then he said in 97, the worst thing that can happen to a journalist is to become a celebrity. Yep. The honest job of a journalist is to observe, to listen, to learn. The job of a celebrity is to be observed, to make sure others learn about him or her, to be the object of attention rather than the observer. So this poor guy lived long enough to see all of his dire warnings go unheeded, and probably it was, this final sort of the Trump phenomenon showing the danger of what he was trying to warn against. Yeah. Ben Bagdickian. So I got so much other stuff here and the hour's gone. But we got, real quickly, Mike from Philly. Lynn is a born Pittsburgher, but now Philadelphia, and I can see a big difference between the two cities. People in the counties of Bucks, Montgomery, and Delaware are opposed to Trump. My Pittsburgh friends all support him. Oh, God. There is a racism ingrained in Pittsburgh, in Western PA, because it's Appalachia. It's been well documented that if you want to look at where the racists in this country are, just go up the spine of Appalachia, and that be us. Not you. There's a racism ingrained in Pittsburgh, he writes, that I can't explain or understand. My friends who were liberals while growing up have now turned into anti-choice, anti-gay marriage racists. To quote one friend, I can't believe the leader of my country and the leader of my football team are the N-words. Are you freaking kidding? Okay, so I think it might have to do with exposure. Philadelphia has a very large African-American population that is present throughout all urban and rural areas. Step outside of Pittsburgh and the like, and you'll have a better chance of spotting an African-American in an Abercrombie and Fitch catalog. It makes my wife and me sad about our friends who are in that Pittsburgh bubble. Happy we got out. Well, we're still here. We're still here. Pittsburgh, urban, surrounded, right, by absolute Appalachian, historically American bigots. It's true. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful day. And get serious, okay? Thank you.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.